unoccupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III.
Hello, MacPack. It is great to be back with you as usual. Today is the 26th of April, 2015, and this is On the Move, a show that attempts to inspire you to stand up for your rights. My name is Mac Worley III. I'm your host. Today we have a slew of information. We have a plethora, a smorgasbord, if you will. We're just going to sit down and chow down. We're going to talk about everything that's going on. There's many things that I wanted to get to that I hadn't had time last week. As many of you know, we are moving. We're picking up our operation. We're moving from the Pacific Northwest to the Midwest, going back to my old stomping ground, so to speak. I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio, so I'm going to go be closer to family. My wife and I were talking about starting a family of our own, so we're looking forward to having kids and having them be around grandparents and cousins and things along those lines. So for those of you who aren't aware, next week we will not be having a show on Sunday. I'm actually going to be on the road traveling, and we will start things business as usual the following week. So again, Sunday the 3rd of May, we aren't going to have a show, and on the 10th, we will be back business as usual. We're only going to miss one show here during the move, and things are going to be back. So just because we've left the Pacific Northwest does not mean that we have left broadcasting. We're still going to be doing our thing. So anyway, today's show, we're talking about the Oath Keepers. I want to talk about the Sugar Pine Mine situation, and we may be joined. I've had tentative talks here with their public information officer, Mary Emmerich, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. She may be joining us today. I haven't heard back from her, so I'm not really sure if she will be able to make it or not. I hope so. But if she does, she's going to give us a scoop on what's going on down there at the mine. In addition to that, we have a whole bunch of articles today, tons and tons of stuff that I want to get to, lots of things that have kind of been on my mind recently, and I want to talk to you guys about. Many of you guys were aware we were talking about Senator Chuck Riley and the recall efforts for his gun control that he's trying to put down Oregon voters' throats, just Oregon citizens' throats, and basically, he's been in the news now. He made some comments about slavery, especially in relation to the Constitution and the Supreme Court, and we're going to get to those comments. In addition to that, we are going to talk about these bakers that were forced to pay, according to the state, $135,000 for refusing to bake a cake for a same-sex wedding. This is an Oregon company. I believe it's something Cakes by Melissa, something like that. Give me 1 second. Let me find that information for you. Sweet Cakes by Melissa. And I'm also going to talk about some of the secondary and tertiary effects of what happened from the situation, such as the GoFundMe account that they had and a lot of other stuff. We got a whole bunch of other topics in the news. As usual, you guys can join the conversation at any point in time. Please feel free to do so. The MacPack phone lines are open. The number to the show is 360-450-5625. Again, that's 360-450-5625. Or you can email the show at talk@onthemoveshow.com. I'll read your emails live on the air. You can also message us in an assortment of other ways. You can get us on any of our social media, facebook.com/onthemoveshow. Send us a message on there. You can get us on twitter.com/onthemoveshow. We'll try to interact with you in any way, shape, or form that you guys feel comfortable doing. So anything you have that you want to bring to the table, go right ahead. I want to hear from you guys today. So, and before we move on here to some of the news that we're going to get to, I want to just ask if you guys would please follow us on Spreaker.com/onthemoveshow. You can also like us on Facebook.com/onthemoveshow. Subscribe to our YouTube account, YouTube.com/onthemoveshow. Twitter.com/onthemoveshow. It would be nice if you guys followed us on that as well. And don't forget to check us out on our main page, OnTheMoveShow.com. That's going to be our hub for everything, and we're growing. We're working on a bunch of other stuff here. We got a lot of things in the mix here for you guys, especially after the move. Keep an eye out. Things are about to get crazy here because we're about ready to just start doing. I'm hitting the ground running once I get to where we're going to be. It's going to be a whole different ball game. So just keep your eyes aware of what is to come here. And like I said, this is our last show in Washington, but this is not the last time I will be in Washington. I'm going to keep coming back here every time I have to be in court. So every time I got a case that I'll be here, I'm going to be flying back in town. I'll let you guys know when I'm coming in town, and if you guys ever want to meet up or something, hit me up. Let me know. Before I move into our Weekly Defender segment, which, as you guys know, is my favorite one, I want to talk about an article that I came across a little while ago. And I want to just, if you guys haven't been aware of this, many people aren't, there are actually some states where it is illegal to catch or collect rainwater. Even if it's falling on your property or in your gutter and you have a barrel there, it can be illegal depending on what state you're at. And one of those states where it's currently illegal to collect your rainwater is Colorado. But that might actually be changing soon. Anyway, I'm reading an article here on theweek.com. It's dated March 25th, so it's a little bit old. But it's something I've been waiting to get around to for a while here. I don't know who wrote this. Bonnie Christian. She says, thanks to archaic and complicated water use laws that date in varying degrees to the frontier days, it's currently illegal in Colorado to collect rainwater that falls on your own property. The reasoning is that this water could theoretically end up in a river or aquifer claimed by someone else, typically a large agricultural business. It's an approach to water that increasingly doesn't make sense given drought conditions and modern understanding of property rights. So this week, Colorado's House of Representatives approved a bill which, if it becomes a law, will allow Coloradoans to collect up to 100 gallons of rainwater at a time, enough to cover about 1 day's worth of household water use. So I'm looking right now on the actual website here where that link for the bill went through, and I do not know if this is passed. So I will get back to you guys on this and let you know how this goes. But I wanted to bring it up as a way of highlighting this issue first and foremost, because when you think about it, the reason why these bills were passed in the first place was because of agro businesses. And we have a standing conversation. It seems like we talk about this very frequently, the difference between capitalism and crony capitalism. And this is a great example because, you don't have people lobbying for you on your behalf to your representatives. But agro businesses, they do. They have people talking to the senators and representatives in places, for example, like Colorado. And in these places, obviously, if a business is giving some kind of campaign donation to if an agro business is giving a campaign donation to a senator or congressman, representative, something along those lines, if they're getting money, they have to have some kind of kickback. They have to have something that they're paying back these constituents, their donors, for. So they are in turn in their pocket. This is one of those things that happens, is the agribusinesses say, hey, we want all the water rights, even for rain, because it could hypothetically somehow end up in our area of operation, and if they're collecting it, that means less water for us, and we need water. And you all are aware of the water conflicts that have been happening, especially in the Pacific Northwest here and in places like California where there is a drought on. I mean, this happens all the time. So obviously the big agro business win because they have more money than you or I. They have lobbyists that they can buy, and essentially they can buy congressmen and women and have them help them out. This is crony capitalism. This is not capitalism. This is crony capitalism, and there's a huge difference. I am a capitalist. I support capitalism. However, I don't support the collusion between industry and industry and government. That is almost a fascist kind of state, that when they have these combinations of things, that these corporations are using the government, the force of government, to essentially, force their will upon you on your private property. And just think about it too. This stuff falls on your property, and it may run down somewhere else, but it doesn't matter. It has to pass through your property. So, with that same logic, how about we establish some kind of tax on the business then? If the business wants to have this, how about they pay the people whose land the water runs through, because you're using our property? How about it? It's only joking. I'm not for any new taxes, especially to punish businesses. But there is a point, is that this goes through private property that it would not have normally been able to get to this agro business's aquifer or whatever they're using to use their water from. Whatever their situation is, it's not falling right from the sky into their land. So it has to pass through somebody else's property. And if somebody wants to stop that flow of water, I think they have every right to, as long as it's not a giant river going through it and that's affecting lots of other people. I don't see any reason why anyone would have a problem with this. And especially if you're talking about runoff water being collected from your drain, your drain pipe, you just put a barrel there or something. I think this should probably be extended past 100 gallons. But I think this is a good start. 100 gallons a day. I don't have any issue with that. But anyway, I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about it. What do you guys think about water rights? Do you think that this should go to the agro businesses? Is it more of the collective good versus the individual? What do you think? Do you think that we should have these laws where we're restricting people's water uses, what they can do with rainfall that lands on their own property? I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say. Anyway, I want to move on here, and let's go to the first Weekly Defender we have. And for those of you who don't know, our Weekly Defender is the segment where we talk about armed citizens in the news who have used their firearms to defend themselves, their property, family, something along those lines. So anyway, here we go.
And now it's time for Weekly Defender. You have the right to defend your life, the right to defend your family, and the right to defend your freedom.
All right, we only have one Weekly Defender today. I didn't look up anymore, but I thought, we're going for quality rather than quantity. So let's go ahead and do this one here. We got this one on newsaurus.com. That's Noozsaurus.com. And it's titled, Robber Puts Knife to Grandma's Throat. Grandma puts gun in his face. And I think this is an interesting story here. So, first of all, I love stories like this where somebody who would not normally be able to defend themselves because of a physical difference. This is an elderly woman. I'm looking at a picture of her right now. I'm not judging her. I'm just saying I don't think she could fight very well. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she's a brawler. Who knows? But anyway, she's going against a 25-year-old man, and she uses a gun to defend herself. I'll read the article here. As lawmakers in Texas continue to debate gun rights in issues in their state, residents are stepping up, letting their actions speak volumes. Monday, April 20th, 74-year-old Fort Worth resident Jewel Turner turned the tables on a would-be criminal. Turner stated that she was sitting in her vehicle outside her local doctor's office. Someone approached her asking for directions. Oh, that is shady. So, rolling down her window in a typical small-town Texas fashion, the man engaged her in small talk, but then suddenly pulled a knife and held it to her throat. That guy's a snake. All right, according to NBC5, Turner stated the man then said, "I don't want to hurt you, but I want your money, and I will hurt you if I have to." Thinking about using her deceased husband's knife, which was in the vehicle, she quickly remembered that she had her legally owned handgun with her, and this is how she described the events that unfolded. "I seen the gun laying there and figured that would work better than the knife. I just reached down, got the gun, and turned around and pointed it toward his face. Then I told him, 'You back off or I'll blow your head off.' The Texas grandma said the man's eyes got big as he quickly backed away and retreated down the street as if nothing happened." So actually, guys, at this point, I think we're getting a call from Mary. Hold on one second. Hi, you're on the air with Mac Worley. This is On the Move. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Excuse me, this is Mary Emmerich. I'm calling from Oregon.
Yes, ma'am. We are expecting your call. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for calling us today. I'm really excited to get the skinny on what's going on down at the Sugar Pine Mine. So if you wouldn't mind, start from the beginning and everything, just so our listeners here know exactly where this all started.
Well, I'd be happy to do that. So, first of all, I'm the Public Information Officer for the Oath Keepers of Josephine County.
Yes, ma'am.
We usually have a speaker once a month. We happen to be having the new district attorney speak. And so the miners from Sugar Pine Mine came to that meeting and stood up and spoke a little bit about their problem. After that, our leadership spent about an hour and a half going through their legal papers and their documents concerning the ownership of the mine. Because we felt it was violating their Fifth Amendment rights of due process, we decided as a group that we would help them. And that's really how this started as far as our involvement.
Yes, ma'am. So as far as what you guys are actually doing down there, from what I understand, there are security operations involved in this. So what are you guys doing right now?
Well, we do have around-the-clock security operation running, and that's because the miners were issued a cease and desist order, which was tacked to a tree, and then about 13 days later, the BLM came back, supposedly to serve them papers that had already been served, and threatened to take their property and burn their cabin down. So they asked for our help to secure the site until their legal process goes through the courts. Yes,
ma'am. And as far as I'm looking at the Josephine County, the actual website here, oathkeepersjoco.com. You guys are basically having a action alert, call to action, so to speak, where it's at the request of the Sugar Pine miners, the actual owners, that you guys come down, as you were saying, to protect their Fifth Amendment constitutional right to due process. And you guys are still looking for people and supplies and things like that, right?
Absolutely. That's very important to keep an operation like this running. We have had people from all over. In fact, a gentleman arrived today from Boston, drove all the way to help with the process, and he's running security at our staging area currently, being trained into that. Everyone who comes to our staging area is carefully screened because we want this to stay peaceful and reasonable. And so we ask people to fill out an application, and if they want to volunteer, we assign them to a certain activity. Donations are what keeps us running. We go through a lot of food for the people who are actually doing security, for the people who are in camp. We need supplies and equipment. People like me need a laptop and office supplies and that sort of thing. So there's a whole laundry list of equipment and things we need.
Yes, ma'am. So let me get down to what everybody is probably thinking in the situation. As far as rules of engagement, for the people out there who are doing security, and actually essentially on the front line of this operation, what are your rules of engagement out there, if you're allowed to talk about it or anything? I'm just curious, if the BLM marches in and starts without actually shooting or having any kind of violence, they come in and tell everybody that they need to leave. What happens if there's a confrontation?
Well, I'm not the security supervisor, but I will tell you that there is a security plan in place. You have to remember that even banks have security guards, and there's a reason for that. It's meant to be preventative. You also have to know that the BLM has already come into that mine area armed with several kinds of threats that weren't part of the cease and desist. There was a date on that. There was legal process going on, and yet they threatened the miners, and they were armed.
So has a court actually ordered you guys to stand down, or anybody to stand down right now?
No. In fact, one of the big questions we have now concerns the documents, the new paperwork that has been filed by the miners, which was done Wednesday. That paperwork asks for a stay of action, a stop action, if you will, and also another step in the legal process for them, two different kinds of documents. The BLM did not give them a court date, did not, to our knowledge, do anything with that paperwork. It was on television that I myself learned through the PIO they sent out from Washington, D.C., and his comment about that question was, we date-stamped the paperwork. So we have no idea where they are in the process. We don't know if they're stonewalling. We don't know if that means it was sent on to somewhere else. We don't know. We're trying to find out ourselves. But in the meantime, we have a concern about an agency that operates in this manner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, okay, so I just want to make sure, because I haven't really fully understand the situation until just this moment. The way it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the BLM is acting on their own, and they're basically telling the Sugar Pine mine owners that they need to cease and desist, and they have no court orders or anything. There is no due process. That's why you are talking about Fifth Amendment constitutional right to due process. And am I right in this so far?
Yes. In fact, remember, when we first met the miners, they already had an attorney. They had already started the legal process. And that needs to play out in the courts, in our opinion.
Absolutely.
And that's what was not happening, and that's why we put up security around the mine.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, and that I understand that situation. So you guys aren't out there trying to have a conflict with the governmental agency itself, but the issue is that the government agency is acting on their own and not going through the courts, not respecting the right to due process of the landowners, and it makes sense. I support where you guys are coming from, but let me ask you, and let me play devil's advocate a little bit here, because I agree with what you guys are doing, and I'm actually a big supporter of Oath Keepers. We actually run your guys' commercials here on our show. So
Very good.
what I want to ask though is, do you think that this, because I've heard on both sides of this here, and I've actually talked about this with a couple different people. Especially, we were talking about the Bundy Ranch situation, and some people say, they liked the initial idea of the Oath Keepers, how it was to basically bridge the gap between law enforcement and military, and try to get people in these kind of career fields to understand that they did take an oath to the Constitution, try to respect that oath. But in doing these kind of situations like this, some would say that it becomes more of like a confrontational opposition situation. Do you think that it takes away from your message as a total, or not?
Well, I would disagree with that statement, and I can understand why people don't know. Personally, I have a lot of problems with media not getting the facts straight. So Oath Keepers that exist in other part of the country may behave in a different manner. Mm-hmm. In our county, we have some very skilled, highly trained people who are doing their best to keep this a safety operation, a peaceful operation. And that's why our coordinator says, if you come here to stir up trouble, we don't want you.
Yes, ma'am.
If you come here to see what's going on, this is not some kind of music festival. We are running a safety operation, and we want the courts to be the ones to decide this dispute, not deputies that are on, four-wheelers going back in with guns and threatening minors face to face.
Yes, ma'am. And that's actually a lot better answer than what I've told people when I was talking to them. I was saying, well, the name it's Oath Keepers, not Oath Talkers. So that was the way I defended it. But I mean, honestly, I support what you guys are doing. I don't think that this is right in any way, shape, or form. And from what I understand, you guys have a legal defense fund actually set up for the miners, and you have a fund that people can actually donate to the effort for needed supplies and such, right?
We do have both of those, and we appreciate the donations very much. Whether you do it that way or whether you send us gift cards, whatever you do would help tremendously. The miners have already made a public statement saying that if they receive money and it exceeds the amount they need, they will donate the rest of the money to the Galice Mining District to help other miners who have legal disputes.
Yes, ma'am.
So the money is not just going to be used to throw some kind of party or something. Most of us who are in the leadership have donated a lot of our own time, money, and even household goods. My barbecue is currently serving as a cook station at the staging site so that we can feed people. So we all have contributed what we can, but it's expensive, just even if you need to buy socks for the guys who are on patrol. So everything is very much appreciated.
Yes, ma'am. So if you have a little bit more time, I'd like to, if you wouldn't mind, talking about some of the operational stuff as far as that you guys have put in to prevent provocateurs, so to speak, from getting inside this operation. I know you guys set up a staging area and things like that. Would you talk about that?
Well, this might be the unique thing compared to other events that we're being compared to. So we do have a piece of property that was donated to us for use, and we do have barricades that stop people, and we ask them what their purpose is. We have paperwork that people have to fill out. Part of it is, why are you here? What are you trying? What are your skills? Some of it is medical information, so that we can assist you if something occurs, because we do have medical teams both at staging and at the mine. So we look at that paperwork, and we want to make sure you're who you say you are. If you say you're law enforcement and you're there to do law enforcement things, you're going to have identification. You're going to be easily checked on if we want to do a simple computer check. But we do have a lot of volunteers who just say, you need somebody to round up the trash and empty it or wash dishes. We just make sure that people are there to really contribute. We have had volunteers from all over the country, and some of them are staying quite a good amount of time because they believe in the Constitution being the oversight of our country. It is the founding principle of our country. And so they're very much committed to this. But people take their vacation time. Vacation time is over, and we need someone to replace them.
Yes, ma'am. And people can go to Oathkeepers JOCO, that's JOCO.com, to either, one, donate for supplies, contribute to the miners' legal defense, and to give more information about what's going on here. But I really appreciate your time, Mary. It was a real honor and pleasure to have you on the show. If you guys have anything going on, if any other action alerts come out that you need to get some word out, please feel free to call in anytime. I'm happy to have you back on, okay?
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
All right. Well, thank you. You have a great one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and cut to a quick commercial break. And when we get back, we're going to talk. We're going to enter into the next segment of the show. I want to talk about the Mac attack. Sorry, I'm stuttering here. I want to go into the Mac attack segment, and I'm basically going to riff on a couple different articles that I've. It's been bothering me recently. So I want to talk about the Senator Chuck Riley situation. I want to talk about these same-sex wedding baker lawsuit situation. Again, it seems like we've been beating this one like a dead horse, but it's in the news. Things keep changing with the case, and there's a lot of details that I want to get to today. So anyway, we'll be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere.
Oath Keepers is a nonpartisan association of current active duty military, reserve, Guard, veterans, peace officers, and firefighters who will fulfill the oath we swore, with the support of like-minded citizens who take an oath to stand with us, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help us God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mac Worley III.
Hello, everyone. I'm back. All right, so when we last left, we were talking about the Oath Keeper situation down at the Sugar Pine Mine. That just sounds fun. That's fun to say. Sugar Pine Mine. Rolls off the tongue. Anyway, their operation going on down there, the Josephine County Oath Keepers are providing security to this mine in an effort to not have a standoff with the BLM, but to ensure that these mine owners are given the Fifth Amendment constitutionally protected right to due process against the Bureau of Land Management, because they're acting on their own right now. They are saying that they need to cease and desist, and they're not doing that through court. So they need to go through court. That's the right to due process. You can't have an executive agency just operating on their own and deciding property rights, things like that. Those things need to be left to the judges, and I support them in what they're doing out there. And it seems like this is a peacekeeping mission, not a standoff. And people can draw parallels between this and the Bundy Ranch, but it seems like this is being held differently, and it's a different situation entirely. So anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing what ends up happening with this situation. I hope that the miners actually see their day in court. Anyway, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and go into the Mac Attack segment, because I've got a lot of news I want to get to all this stuff, and a lot of it's pretty crazy. So anyway, here we go.
It's time for the Mac Attack!
All right, this is a segment of the show where I talk about outrageous events in the news. So if you would like to participate in today's conversation, you can do so in a few ways. You can message us at facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. You can give us a call, 360-450-5625. Again, that's 360-450-5625. You can email us, talk@OnTheMoveShow.com. Twitter @OnTheMoveShow. All right, so I got a message here on Facebook from Devin, and he says, what about the fact that many BLM agents are also Oath Keepers? Well, first of all, thank you for participating in the conversation, Devin. And secondly, I think that is a good thing. I hope that they're Oath Keepers, because the more people that are out there in our government agencies, and they're actually the ones that would be enforcing unconstitutional laws or unconstitutional actions, those are the ones that need to be Oath Keepers the most, especially be part of this organization. I think, number one, the Oath Keepers are a great organization. That's just my personal opinion. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about it. But as far as I'm concerned, these are the people that we want to be in the BLM. These are the people that we want in our government, because we want those people that will actually honor the oath that they took to the Constitution and not violate the rights of others. So it would be great if the BLM that showed up to oppose the Oath Keepers consisted of Oath Keepers, because there may not be an issue at all. They may just say, hey, you know what? We support what you guys are doing, and I'm not going to enforce these unconstitutional orders that I've been given. And that is, as a government official, that is your first job. All right? First and foremost, that is your first job, to honor your oath to the Constitution. Is what I'm doing, is it constitutional? That should be the very first thing that you ask yourself before you do anything. especially when dealing with the public. You should be double checking. That should be your standard. So I hope that they're Oath Keepers. I hope that's a good thing. We want, and that was the entire reason of the Oath Keepers organization, we want them to, people in our government, the military, the police, anybody everywhere that would be an enforcement arm of the federal Leviathan, the state Leviathan, we want them to be Oath Keepers because we want them to be thinking about upholding their oath to the Constitution. Anyway, so let's move further here. I want to talk about a couple different things here. So first and foremost here, there's a story that I got to get to really fast here. A Texas woman has a bold message for government officials after being fined $2,000 for feeding the poor. So we've heard about these kind of news stories before, and I think this situation is ridiculous. When somebody is fined for helping others, it really makes us, and it forces us, and I think this is honestly the plan, it forces us to put all of our faith in the government to take care of everyone. The government and redistribution of wealth and the idea that the government can take care of everything for everyone is literally killing the concept of charity. And now, via force of law, they've actually made charity in many, many places illegal. So let's talk about this here. April 20th, 2015, this is an article by Billy Hallowell on theblaze.com. Joan Cheever, a food truck owner in San Antonio, Texas, who uses her mobile restaurant to feed the poor, has no plans of backing down in the midst of her very public clash with authorities over a $2,000 fine that she was given for failing to transport food in a permitted vehicle. Cheever, whose chow train doles out nourishment to scores of homeless men and women, and the Church Boys podcast that she told the Church Boys podcast that she has no plans to pay the fine and will show up in court on June 23rd to defend herself, her ministry, and her belief that the government is violating her religious liberty. She said that she plans to tell the court that a city ordinance that critics believes puts undue pressure on Good Samaritans who try to feed the poor by banning the distribution of food not prepared in a commercial kitchen is unconstitutional and needs to be repealed. And Cheever, who has been feeding the poor for nearly a decade, has a tough message for government officials about her rights to help the less fortunate. I would tell them there is nothing in the law or in their hearts that can stop a Good Samaritan from helping someone who needs help, that we can take care of each other as a community, and sometimes people fall down, and we have to help them up, she said. And that's what I tell them. They cannot make a Good Samaritan into a criminal. Now, this is a great argument, and I love it, and it's a perfect illustration of what I talk about all the time, okay? As far as having laws, okay? Laws really don't mean much to criminals, okay? So criminals will violate laws because that's what they are by definition. They're lawbreakers. And you can't stop criminals. You can't pass a law and stop a criminal from doing a crime because that doesn't matter to them. They don't care that they're violating the law because they're criminals. And in this situation, you can't stop people from, Good Samaritans, from helping others. They're going to help others. Who gives a crap what the government says? If somebody needs help, Good Samaritans will help. That's what they're going to do. You make a law, all you're doing is turning this person who's not hurting anyone, in fact, they're helping others, you're turning them into a criminal. It doesn't make sense, and the whole idea that we can rely on our government for everything is the biggest lie that we've been somehow tricked into believing. The government somehow believes, or it gets us to believe, that they can not only provide us with food, that they can provide us with cell phones, they can provide us with health care, they can provide us with welfare. In addition to that, they can protect us because they have the monopoly on force. These are things that we're told to believe, and it's just not true. The government cannot pay for every single human necessity. We have to take some personal responsibility for ourselves and for our communities. We have to actually step up and do the right thing sometimes. And in this situation, I have no problem with charity. And in fact, I really support it. If somebody, it came up and asked for a good cause for money, yeah, I'd be willing to help. Given the scenario, If I had money, if it was a good cause, all of these things, I'd be willing to help. I'd be willing to voluntarily participate. But the entire idea of redistribution of wealth is the exact antithesis of voluntary. It's the opposite of voluntary. What it is it says, you have money, now I'm going to take some of that money as the government. And we're going to redistribute it in a way that we see fit because we're smarter than you. And number one, we can decide what happens to this money more efficiently than you can. And, you don't need to be charitable now because we've seized your money against your will. That's what taxes and redistribution of wealth is. It's government threat of force. If you don't pay your taxes, you'll see. So, but it robs us of that responsibility when we let the government take this position of the goodwill government. If we allow them to take this position and we stop being charitable ourselves, it really does rob us of that responsibility that we have to each other. Now, I'm not saying that you have a responsibility to your entire community as a collective and you have to do this. No, you have a choice. You have a responsibility as far as a good Samaritan to do the right thing to help others. And, in my opinion, put out some good karma essentially is try to make, your community better. Help others that you see need help and you're in a position to help them. You should help them. But no one should make you help them, especially the government. I wholeheartedly disagree with that. And to punish somebody who is voluntarily taking their time out of their day and spending money and resources to help others, I think is just sick. It has got to be up is down, black is white. I don't recognize this country anymore. What is going on? $2,000 fine for helping people, feeding the poor? I don't understand. It's unbelievable. I want to hear from you guys. Give us a holler, 360-450-5625, 360-450-5625, or talk at OnTheMoveShow.com, Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow, and at OnTheMoveShow on Twitter. Anyway, we're going to cut to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk more news. We got Senator Chuck Riley coming up next, and we are going to be talking about we had some other stuff. Hold on. I don't know why I just dumped that. That was crazy. Oh, yeah, the same-sex wedding with the bakers and $135,000 fine for refusing to bake the cake. So, yeah, that's coming up next. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, pledging my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. So help me God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/OnTheMoveShow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mac Worley III.
just realized once again that I'm going to have to get a new intro. We're not broadcasting on the left coast after today. This is the last day out here on, leftist central next to Portland. Like I said, I'm in Vancouver, Washington, by the way, and I'm literally in the shadow of Portland, and we're 5 minutes away. And man, that place is just crazy, full of leftists. As my good friend Dan Sandini says, you can't swing a stick without hitting a communist in Portland, and it's true. There's so many of them in Portland. It makes for great entertainment. If you want to go down and just start rolling film, you're bound to get something interesting. But it's kind of sad. I'm leaving here. I'm going to miss everybody. Definitely have made a whole lot of friends. I'm going to miss you guys a ton. But I'm not going anywhere online. I mean, we're still going to be here broadcasting week after week, with the exception of the 3rd, because we're on the road. But other than that, it's going to be business as usual. And, we're going to hit the ground running. Like I said, in Kentucky is where we're going. We're going to hit the ground running. It's about to be crazy. So stay tuned for that stuff. You guys are going to like it. Anyway, let's see here. Without further ado, I want to get into the other articles here regarding, first of all, the gay baker. Or, sorry, the gay couple that tried to get a cake from a baker. There we go. That's a hard one to say. I'm just going to start calling it the gay baker. That's funny. Anyway, all right. So let's bring up the first thing I want to talk about here. The very first topic here for the subject is I posted on our Facebook, facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. Can we all agree that forcing people to do something against their will is immoral? And, just without even connecting it to the story, let's just talk about that issue in and of itself. Forcing someone to do something against their will, that's immoral. I think anybody can really relate to just that idea. However, it becomes a topic of debate, and it's contested when you start attaching it to different things. So, if I walk into your house and say, you have to feed me, you have to. Most people would say no, that forcing other people to do something against their will is immoral. However, when you start attaching it to different stories, different situations, people are like, well, maybe you should. Maybe the government should force these people to do this. So actually, we have a caller right now. We're going to go ahead and take this call. Hey, you're on the Move with Mac Worley. We're live on the air. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Steve from Illinois.
Hey, Steve, what's going on?
Oh, not much. We just watching people move out of this state like crazy.
Yes, sir. So what's on your mind?
Well, I mean, he's at the segment about the $135,000 fine the state put against the Sweet Cakes Bakery.
Yes, sir.
And I just want to interject an observation out of that whole deal, that marriage has already been defined as a union or a contract between a man and a woman. And at the case with these gay people going in and wanting special services done for them, they choose not to accept that contract of marriage as it's been defined. So not only is the lady's First Amendment right being violated by the government or by the state, she is also acknowledging that she does not accept that they're not accepting the contract of marriage. So it's kind of it's bogus.
Okay, so let me, because I just want to be clear in transparency here, Steve. I actually support the rights of homosexuals to get married. So I just want to be clear here and want to clarify. Are you saying that you do not support their right to get married? I just want to understand where we're coming from here.
All right, what I'm saying is it has already been defined that marriage, to constitute marriage as defined, mm-hmm. It is a contract or a union between a man and a woman. And if you are a man wanting to join union with a man, or a woman wanting to join union with a woman, you are not accepting that as it stands now contract.
Okay, so here's where I differ. Okay, because the definition to me it was obviously defined as a way to prevent people who were homosexual from getting married. So this
has been established forever.
Well, you're talking about the biblical references to that. Am I right?
No, I'm talking about any reference. A marriage has been defined as a union between a man and a woman.
Okay, all right. Well, what I will say is that in regards to that argument, I don't know when the definition came out of the ether. I don't know any of that. What I will tell you is that when we're talking about rights, okay, individual freedom, if I can do something, all right, you should be able to do the same thing. So if I can get married, you should be able to get married. And you shouldn't be if you're a homosexual, you should not be forced to not be allowed to marry the person that you love. This is just my personal opinion, and I don't think that it is detrimental to the institution, because basically the argument, and maybe you're not arguing this, would you say that homosexual marriage in some way denigrates or downgrades marriage in general?
As it stands, yes, I do.
Okay. Well,
because I understand as my right, as defined, a marriage is between a man and a woman. Even the Democratic Party went through all this stuff back in the 80s and 90s to stand up there. Now it's turned into a political circus is what it's done now. And anything, and isn't it declaration, all rights, unalienable rights, are given to us by our Creator of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. They are natural rights. Okay. Now we could debate what's natural. Is love natural? Well, in that case, would it be natural to have to be accepted if I was in love with a animal or a non-material? Where do we draw the line of what natural is? We can't keep defining everything.
Well, look, I mean, I understand. Believe me, I get where you're coming from, and I've heard the argument. This is the basically the religious argument on this. For me, I want to take religion totally out of this conversation because, first of all,
I didn't say nothing about religion.
But what you're saying is that by homosexuals getting married, it actually basically taints the institution of marriage itself. So having, Ben and Steve get married down the street somehow has an effect on your marriage. But that's not really the case, because it doesn't actually affect you. It just affects this mythical institution in the sky that, for me, I think this is a losing argument. And I respect your opinion, Steve, but Is
it a contract, though? Is marriage a contract? Do you understand it? No. Anytime you go fill out a license, you are filling out a contract.
No,
yes,
marriage is a religious. It's a religious ceremony.
No, sir. Everything that you sign your name to that is in reference to a title or is reference to a license is a contract. Your driver's license, your Social Security card, a marriage license.
You're talking about the layer of bureaucracy that has been added to this religious ceremony, and it was only added in an attempt to actually keep African Americans from marrying white people. That was where the marriage's license.
What's natural, though? That person is natural. That is natural. That is a man. That is a black man. That is a woman, a white woman, a black woman, whatever. They are natural. They were born that way. When you are gay, you are making a choice. And I have talked to a ton of women in my particular case, and I know two guys that claim they were gay, but now all of a sudden they're straight. Now I've talked to these women that used to go out with guys or not with women, and the biggest problem that I found with these women were the fact is the way they were treated by a man. So, in that conclusion, there, I have not talked in my personal situation. I have not found out of maybe, I'll exaggerate to make it sound better, 12 to 15 people, probably actually close to 8 to 10. None of them ever said they were as a kid, my sister was a tomboy. She used to whoop the pants off of us guys playing football and baseball. But she is not. She is a tomboy. She is still a woman. So it's a choice. It's a choice whether you believe in somebody higher than you. It's your choice to believe in which sexual partner you want to have. I'm talking about what's natural.
Okay, so let me just give you this scenario here, all right? Because what you're describing is a scenario, and let me just ask a couple questions here. You're not a homosexual yourself, correct?
No, sir.
All right, and you would never participate in homosexual marriage, right?
Would I? No.
Okay, and is that because you find it's distasteful in some way?
Do I find it distasteful? Yeah, I guess I could, because I cannot fathom me desiring to have a sexual relationship with another man.
Yes, sir.
I can love my dad. I can love my dad, who is a man. But having a lover's relationship, no.
Okay, so do you think that it would be okay if, let's say, 50 plus 1% of a population decided that in this specific area, whatever area we're talking about, that homosexual marriage would be illegal, for the majority to say that this is illegal for this certain specific section of a population to get married? You would agree with that, though, right? You would think that that's okay?
No.
No, so you don't think that it's okay for people to outlaw, as far as a majority of people to outlaw gay marriage, then?
So, in other words, you're saying that 51% of the people said Charles Manson wasn't involved in any murders. I'm supposed to believe in that?
No. What I'm saying is that if 51% of the population says gay marriage should be illegal, outlawed, do you think that that's acceptable?
I don't believe in democracy, because democracy is by majority, and because of its majority doesn't mean it's right.
Okay, well then let me ask you, because we live in a constitutional republic, okay? And
yes, sir.
In this constitutional republic, we're guided by the Constitution. That's the supreme law of the land. So where
yes,
in the Constitution does it say that marriage is between a man and a woman?
The Constitution, if you remember, it applies to government, not people.
Well, it lays down the framework for our liberties and the government.
It lays down a framework for what government can and cannot do, not what you and I.
So where are you getting the definition, the legal definition between marriage? Where is that from, then?
Well, where would you get the definition for what a car is, or what a man is, or what a woman is?
Well, if you went on Wikipedia and you looked up something about like what the definition of a car is, that doesn't mean it's legally binding and the state can hold you accountable for it. So what I'm saying is, what legal document is the definition of a man and a woman? Where'd that come from? As far as marriage is between a man and a woman, where did that come from, and why are we holding ourselves accountable for that? If it's based off of, in many cases, like in California, where it was voters decided to ban it, and then it was overturned by the Supreme Court.
I think that the definition, if you want to put a definition, or the standard, has been around for centuries, since whatever day you want to say people were created, and I think it's stood, not just assumed, because I believe that there's a reason that there's different sexes. I mean, we had a guy, an advocate for gay rights in the schools in California, going to kindergarten, telling little kids that it's okay if you don't want opposite sex, because we're like worms. I mean, how do you associate a man and a woman and associate them as being a worm? So, I mean, there's what's natural. Everything's natural, and then there's things that are unnatural. So it depends on where you want to take it. But again, that all comes back down to what you believe versus what I believe.
Yes, sir.
Should you force your belief onto me, or do I just accept you and say, okay, you're doing something I don't believe in, and you should look at me and say, okay.
Hey, Steve,
move on.
We got another caller here on the line. Hey, new caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Rick Howley.
Hey, Rick, what's on your mind?
Not too much. I figured, I just actually just got home from a birthday party. Saw the post that you were online, and boy, we really need to talk about SB 941.
Yes, sir. All right. Hey, Steve, are you still on the line? I guess he dropped off. All right, Rick, what's up? What's going on with SB 41?
SB 941, Oregon Senate Bill 941.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure you followed it a little bit. That's the universal background check bill that they're trying to pass down in Oregon now.
Okay. So what are you guys trying to do right now to stop that?
Well, right now it's going to be it passed the rules, the House Rules Committee. Thursday it passed out of the Rules Committee. We went down there on Wednesday. We had sheriffs down there. We had county commissioners down there, NRA down there, judges, several people down there that discussed it and explained the problems with it. And they passed it through the Rules Committee anyway. So it's going to the floor, and it's already passed the Senate. So they are on the verge of having that passed down there if the House floor votes yes on it. So
okay, so we need people to call their House representatives. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, House Representatives. They need to get a hold of their House Representatives right away. Let them know that this is just not going to work for us.
Okay, I'm actually looking up their numbers here to call them to get a hold of your House representatives. We'll go ahead and cut to a quick commercial break while I look up this information. Hey, Rick, you mind holding on the line while we do that?
Certainly.
All right, we'll be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere.
Oath Keepers is a nonpartisan association of current active duty military, reserve, guard, veterans, peace officers, and firefighters who will fulfill the oath we swore, with the support of like-minded citizens who take an oath to stand with us, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help us God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/OnTheMoveShow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mac Worley III.
And we're back. All right. In the process of sharing now on our social media all the information that you'll need to actually oppose 941. Give me one moment here while I finish up all this stuff here. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm giving you guys all the links that you will need for being able to contact your rep. You're going to have to do on your own right now. In a moment, I'll post a little later on how to find your rep if you're not sure on how to do that. But right now, I'm posting it on all of my social media. It just went on my Facebook, facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. And now it is about to go on our Twitter. So twitter.com/OnTheMoveShow. If you are in Oregon, or even if you're not in Oregon, contact these state legislators. Let them know that you do not support this kind of crap, these new anti-gun draconian laws, and let them know where you stand, because it's really important. But anyway, we have Rick Halley on the line right now. Hey, Rick, you there?
I am.
Okay. All right. So tell us more about SB 941.
SB 941 is the universal background check bill requiring background checks on all transfers of firearms. Basically, it's a duplicate of what we have here in Washington with the Initiative 594. We know already that 594 is not enforceable, and law enforcement up here, they simply don't know what to do with it. It's so draconian that if you go out target shooting and you loan a buddy a firearm while you're out target shooting so that they can target shoot with your firearm, you're technically breaking the law. And that's how bad it is. Then they expect you to run to a firearms dealer every time you do that, pay a fee to transfer the firearm, and then, of course, when you get your firearm back, if you've loaned it to them, you have to go through it again and pay another fee to do another background check so you get your firearm back. It's just, and this is for lawful activities that we've done through the centuries.
Yeah. Yes, and the main thing is that this isn't affecting anything regarding criminals. I mean, this won't do anything to stop Sandy Hook. This won't do anything to stop a Clackamas shooting. None of these things will have been stopped because of these laws. All it's going to do is just add more red tape to basically law-abiding citizens, gun owners now. It's going to make it harder for people who were never a threat to begin with to assert a right that they have. So. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, and I think everybody should do everything that they can to support Oregon gun owners, even if you're not an Oregon resident. I'm actually going to go ahead and contact representatives in every single one of these representatives in Oregon in the House and let them know. It's going to take a minute, but let them know that I don't want them to support this, and I'm going to speak out if they do.
I would ask for everyone to pay just a little special attention to Representative Barbara Smith Warner while you're at it as well. She needs to be reminded that her vote on this does in fact reflect whether or not she actually supports the Second Amendment or not. She seems to think that you can strongly support the Second Amendment and still vote yes on this, and that's just impossible.
So it was Barbara Smith?
Barbara Smith Warner.
Okay, Barbara Smith Warren.
She is a representative for Portland.
Okay, and I'm looking at her right now. She's Democrat, District 45. Everybody get ready to write this number down, and I would really appreciate it if you would call this number right now. I don't care if you walk away from the show. Call the number right now, 503-986-1445. 503-986-1445. Call her. Let her know exactly what Rick just said. Let her know that a vote on this is a vote against the Second Amendment, and you will hold her accountable. Anyway, one more time, 503-986-1445. Rick, you got anything else on your mind?
That's probably the biggest thing with that particular deal. Of course, we sat there for several hours on the testimony, and like I said, there 2 sheriffs came up and testified, 4 county commissioners, a judge, and I think there actually was another county commissioner that was on that same panel with him. And all of these people, I think 27 of the counties in Oregon have come out and specifically said that they do not support this. It's pretty widely in the administration and law enforcement there that they said that this just is not going to work.
This is the same bill that was proposed by Senator Chuck Riley. Is that correct?
I think they are similar. I don't know if they're identical. I think this one here actually is more of a copy of 594 than even anything that they had before.
I see. So are you familiar with what Chuck Riley was doing then? What his bill was?
I'm not exactly with the details of it now.
Okay. All right. Well, no worries. We got another video. We're actually going to be talking about that and some other comments that Chuck Riley made later in the show. But I really appreciate you calling us, giving us a tip on this, Rick. I'm going to blast this out as much as I can this week. So thanks a lot.
Certainly. All the help we can get, because that's going to go to the floor here pretty quick, probably early in the week.
Yes, sir. So. All righty. We'll do what we can here. Thanks again.
Thanks.
All right. Take care. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and I want to, I apologize, Steve. I didn't mean to cut you off. I wasn't sure if somebody else was adding to your conversation that you were having there. And first of all, I want to say here, Steve, I respect the fact that you called in, but I disagree. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, I don't think that somebody getting married down my street has any effect on my marriage whatsoever. Somebody else's actions has no real concern with it. People do in their own bedroom, I don't care. I have no care. And when you start going down the slippery slope argument, which I use in several topics, and I can see where you're going with this on this, and they start saying, especially the religious argument side of this is saying, well, it's a slippery slope. People could end up having sex with animals and whatnot. And here's the big difference, okay? For me, it's all about consent. All right, an animal can't consent any more than a baby could. All right, and I think that statutory rape laws should still be in effect. Especially, up to, to protect adolescents, and honestly, I don't see anything wrong with stopping at 18. I think that is when we consider people adults now in our society. So I don't have any problem with having statutory rape laws. Everything is based on consent and the ability to give consent, So if an animal can't give consent, then obviously you can't have a consenting adult relationship with that animal. If a baby can't give consent, you can't have a consenting adult relationship with a child, a baby, something along those lines. You just can't. So when you start talking about that, let's follow the slippery slope. Consent is the biggest key when it comes to relationships or sexual relationships as well. So let's follow it all the way down to the worst parts. All right, people are going to say incest is going to happen. Okay. I don't think the government should be involved in regulating morality. So if two consenting adults want to go ahead and marry their siblings or something like that, I don't care what they do. Their marriage has absolutely no effect on mine. And as long as they're not asking me or demanding me to do something against my will, I personally don't care. And concerning the worst case scenario here of let's say prostitution, I personally I don't think that if somebody is engaging in an act of prostitution, as long as it's consensual, as long as they're not being forced into sex slavery, I personally don't care. That's where I go with this. I mean, it really doesn't. It's all about consent and voluntary actions. Hey, I think we got Steve calling back right now. Hey, Steve, you there?
Yep.
All right. Sorry to cut you off, man. I thought that Rick was calling in to join in on the conversation, but we had a topic change there. So,
absolutely.
All right. So like I said, personally, I don't think that it has any real effect on my marriage, somebody else's marriage. And for me, I look at this as using government force to tell somebody how to live their life, because it's in a way that I'm not gay. I don't live my life like they do. I don't have that lifestyle. But you know what? If they want to do it, personally, it does not affect me in any way, shape, or form. And even let's say I was completely disgusted by it, even if I was, it doesn't affect me, and no law is going to change the behavior of those people. And as long as they find a church that would be willing to actually conduct this religious ceremony, because for me, this is what I believe it is a religious ceremony, and that's why we got married. The state got involved a little late in the game in that and made it a contract, and more about property as far as having to get a license, and it wasn't about the right to marry anymore. It was about protecting white women from African American men in the Jim Crow South. That's what it was about. So, for me,
I agree with you. I on that. I don't care what somebody else does. But should they, because they choose to do something, come to me and tell me I have to do something?
Well, no. So what are they asking you to do, though?
Well, if we're talking about the cake issue.
Okay, all right. So maybe I misunderstood your argument, because for me,
well, it's not an argument. I never argue.
well, I'm using that in more of the rhetorical sense, because we're in an argument now. It's a debate, but we're not. My blood's not boiled. I love this stuff. I love talking about this. Just having differences of opinion and hashing it out. So it's not an argument.
But an argument I would have hung up on. I used to argue with my ex-wife, and I would just leave the room. I'm done arguing.
Yes,
you
sir.
know? Whether I wanted it my way or not, I would be done with it. So I'm just debating. I'm just throwing this out here and giving you my aspect of the deal. I don't care what the other guy does down the road or anything like that.
Okay.
They can do what they want. But when they come, and this topic was all because of sweet cakes.
Yes.
Okay. And you come to my store, I'm just going to say, I know you're not. Let's say you were. You come to my store and you come in. Okay. I got everything here that I offer everybody. Okay. You come in and you don't like what I got. Now you're telling me you want me to make something special. And no, I don't. I'm not comfortable with that. So I do not acknowledge your marriage because I acknowledge a relationship, a marriage, a union between a man and a woman. So you're stepping on my toes now. Instead of turning around and saying, okay, I accept you so I can accept what your belief is, what your right is.
Yeah,
okay, that's all
actually,
I'm getting at.
For me, I actually agree with you in that line of thought. So I thought you were saying that gay marriage should not even be legal in the first place. Is that not what you're saying?
It's not recognized. Marriage is between, I put some links on Facebook there. A marriage has been acknowledged to be one man, one woman. That's what it has been defined as.
By who?
One's from a legal dictionary, from whatever. You know, I'm just putting stuff out there to say this has been acknowledged for centuries, and that was my first. That was my first response. Is this is something natural? You brought up before I got on the call here again. You brought up about statutory rape. Having relations with an animal and stuff, and you're saying you're all for statutory rape because of non-consent. So, I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
Go for it.
Okay, now, you just got done saying that you don't support the consent part of it because of the animal or because of the child. All right, that's your belief, isn't it?
Well, it's impossible to gain consent from an animal. Am I wrong?
No, I'm not saying that. Yes, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's your belief. That's how you want to look at it. So you brought up. Sorry about that. So you brought up to me that you didn't want the religious aspect in. So who are we going to believe here now? I mean, whose side are we going to take?
The issue, and the only reason why I mentioned not having the religious aspect in this conversation is not because I'm in opposition to it. It's because I think it's the majority of people who talk about this may be Christian, but there are some people who aren't, and there may be a majority who aren't. So if your argument it requires people to have your same religious beliefs, I think that it's a losing argument because people are going to be different. There are going to be differing views. So
you keep bringing up majority, okay? And I told you I cannot believe in democracy. Democracy has always failed.
Well,
always.
No, but what I'm just talking about garnering support for your debate argument. What I'm saying though, but regarding consent, I mean you can't get consent. You can't get consent from an animal. You can't get a consent from a child. And even if you got consent from somebody who was under the age of 18, we as a society have agreed that 18 is the legal age of an adult. And I don't see anything wrong with requiring a legal age. Now, let's actually whip this back to the actual root of what we're talking about here, because I don't think we're actually in disagreement with the actual
no, I don't.
Conversation.
That's why it's a debate.
Yeah.
That's why it's a debate. I'm not arguing.
Yeah. No, no worries. But as far as these bakers having to pay $135,000 for refusing to bake a cake for a same-sex wedding, your thoughts are that they shouldn't have been forced to do this action in the first place, right?
And they shouldn't be fined because now they're being coerced.
Yes, sir.
Into having to do something they don't believe in by having to be basically put out of business. Is that not blackmail?
Yes, sir. So I have a question for you then, and I just want to see if this works both ways for you here. Excuse the pun, that was not intended. as far as this, let's say you owned a business and you wanted to refuse it for any reason whatsoever. Do you think that a business owner should be able to refuse service to anyone for any reason whatsoever?
If it's disruptive to my beliefs or customers, that's disruptive. I mean something that's unnatural. Per se, you come in and I got a sign posted on my door: no shoes, no shirt, no service. And you come in without shirt and shoes. I'm going to tell you to refuse for service. Go. There's my rule.
So you like it on the religious rights behalf, right?
No, that's not got nothing to do with religion. That's got to do with offending other people.
No, but what I'm talking about as opposed, I mean, we all know about the no shoes, no shirts, no service. But what I'm talking about is refusing service to somebody for any reason whatsoever. So obviously,
if anybody wants to come in and buy my product as I have it, absolutely not. But if somebody wants to come in and say, you're going to go out of your way to do something for me, I'm going to have to say, sorry, I cannot do that because I'm treating you differently than I am them.
Okay.
This is my business.
Yeah, and for me, I agree with that because the situation here, it's not like this was a donut shop and they just have donuts in the window there and they're asking to buy one and the baker said, are you homosexual? No, you can't buy one of those donuts. They went in and they said, hey, we want you to make a cake for us, custom. It's not out here already made. We want you to actively participate in this wedding by making us a cake. And they said, no, I can't do that because it's for religious reasons. And I think they have every right. But for me, I think it is a losing argument to make it based on solely religious reasons. I think this is a freedom of association. And I think this is the winning argument.
But you can't go by guilt by association either.
No,
I'm
not talking about guilt by association. I'm talking about your freedom to choose who you associate with. You have the freedom of association. That's a natural right. You were talking about natural rights earlier. Your natural right to decide that I don't want to participate in whatever it is that you're doing, or I just don't like you for whatever reason. It could be because you're being a bigot or something along those lines, or because you just don't like their face, or they maybe have body odor, or they don't have shirts, shoes, or anything like that. I mean, those are the reasons why people may do it. It's judgment, and I think that the freedom of association argument is a much better winner in this topic anyway than the freedom of religion and concerning this, because you bring so many more people into your argument. Yeah, as a black man, I wouldn't want to have to be forced to bake a cake for a member of the KKK. As a gay man, I wouldn't want to be forced to bake a Hitler cake. There's a million other reasons that you can do, but I think it's the winning argument for this conversation, because to isolate it to just religious beliefs, it takes away so many people from this conversation.
Well, how about this idea? If you want to take religion out of this whole deal, okay? Well, I'm going to take the whole religious thing out of this deal. Why can't everybody respect everybody else's for what they believe, just because of them? If I don't want have to go out of my way to make a special cake for the KKK, they don't have to be a gay couple. It could be the Black Panthers. It could be the gay KK. It could be anything that is affecting me, my life, my conscience, my morals, and reverse it on anybody else. So if you walk in and say, "I want a cake for the KKK," I say, "Sorry, you should just turn around and walk away and leave it lay. Find somebody that will."
And I would agree. I agree with that. People should, but the issue is not what people should do, because we can't control what people should do. But the issue is involving the government, the threat of force, coercion, and my biggest problem with this. Okay, let's say Steve. Okay, let's say you're a Christian, right? You are a Christian, right?
I believe in what I want. I believe there's somebody a lot smarter than me.
Okay, well, let's just say you're a Christian, okay? And you walk into my store, and I'm a business owner, and in this example, I really hate Christians, and I don't want to serve them, okay? But there's laws that prevent me from discriminating against Christians. So what I say is, you say, hey, can you bake a cake for my wedding? And I find out that you're a Christian, and I'm like, oh, sorry, we're all booked up. I'm unavailable. I can't make that commitment. I'm sorry. So now I have to lie to you, and you don't know that I secretly hate Christians. You know what I mean? And that way you may come back and support my business by giving me money. You may not tell anybody because you didn't know. So I would rather people be like, hey, Steve, you're Christian, and I don't do business with Christians, so get out. And that's fine with me. If I was in your shoes, I would be like, hey, that's fine. Thanks for telling me. Now I know that you're a bigot, and I'm going to tell everybody.
It's not a bigot. It's your decision, because I'm going to look at you and say, okay, well, if you don't believe in my Christianity, I'm going to leave. I'm going to say a prayer for you when I leave. Why do I want to sit there and stir up trouble with you just because it's about money? I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you. The state, we're going to fine you $135,000. What did the state have to do? What's this fine got to do?
I'm not even talking about I want to take the government out of it. I want to take the fines out of it. I want them to not be involved in regulating discrimination in people's freedom of association. So what we need is a free market answer, a free market solution. So the free market solution, what you're talking about, if you ran into a situation where you discriminated against, you may not decide to tell anybody about it or make a stink about it. You may be like, well, whatever, that's their right, whatever. And
I'm talking about
right.
special things here now. I'm talking about me having to go out of my way. Now, like I said, if I've got hamburgers, cheeseburgers, French fries, and you come in and tell me I want to make a steak, you want me to make you a steak, I can't do it. I can't serve you. That's what I'm getting at.
I get what you're saying, but I mean that is a kind of a different scenario, because they do make cakes at this bakery. They just didn't make cakes for gay couples, and they didn't have any already prepared cakes that were available for these people that they wanted. They weren't denying something in the store window.
If they had that gay cake made up, there wouldn't be no trouble, now would there?
No, if they already had it available, they'd be like, "Hey, you can have that gay cake right there. Go crazy." But hey, Steve, we got to take off. We got to take off and cut to a commercial break, and I got a bunch of other articles to get to. So first, I just want to say thanks so much for calling and taking the time, man.
Hey. And we weren't arguing, we're debating.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, you have a great day.
Take care. You too.
All right, bye-bye. All right, guys, so we're going to cut to a commercial break. When we get back, we're going to chew the fat on the rest of these articles here. Got a whole bunch more information to get to. And I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation with Steve. I like having conversations with people who have different opinions of me. And that's the reason why we do this, because I want to hear the variety of opinions out there, the difference of thought. And, I don't always agree with people, but hey, it's interesting to hear what they have to say. Anyway, we'll be right back after these messages. Don't go anywhere.
I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, pledging my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. So help me God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/OnTheMoveShow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mac Worley III.
Hey guys, I'm looking at my Twitter right now, and I happen to see some pretty funny stuff here. Some interesting points being made, counter arguments to our last caller Steve's points about things being natural. And I just want to read some of this here. Devin says he's talking about rape being natural. So if it's natural, it must be okay, according to Steve's argument. That's his point that he's making. Obviously, there's some tongue-in-cheek there. So, but you know, let me see here. There are at least 8.7 million species on Earth, and all of them have certain behaviors that provide evolutionary advantage to perpetuate their species, and some of those things can be rape. Anyway, interesting article. Thanks for the link there. And so I want to get in on this story here, really explain everything that happened and talk about it. So let's start from the very beginning here. The state says that the bakers had to pay $135,000 for refusing to bake a cake for a same-sex wedding. And I asked that question again, can we all agree that forcing people to do something against their will is immoral? And again, the situation, as Steve pointed out, is that the homosexual couple, they came into a store, and the store owners were asked to specifically make a custom cake. It wasn't out there already on display, and they denied them from having this cake. They asked them to participate in the wedding ceremony, this religious ceremony that is against their religious beliefs, the store owners, and they couldn't do it. They could not do it. They refused, and for refusing, they were sued. And for me personally, this whole conversation, it boils down to supporting people that don't support you, is essentially what it is. I don't want people to hide how they feel. I want them to tell me that they're racists or bigots or that they disapprove of my lifestyle in some way. I want them to not be afraid to say how they feel, because first of all, freedom of speech is very, very important to me. And secondly, my freedom to associate and your freedom to associate is additionally important to me. I don't want you to have to associate with me if you hate me. I don't want, if you hate me, I don't want you to be forced to put up with me. All right? If you find something about me distasteful in whatever fashion, be it, you know, the kind of clothes I wear, how I talk, I mean, whatever it is, maybe you just don't like me. I don't know. But if you don't like me, you shouldn't be forced to serve me for any reason at all. Even if that reason is my race and you're a bigot. Okay, you're a bigot. You don't want to serve me? That's fine. I'll take my business somewhere else. In fact, if I knew you were a bigot, even if you were still willing to serve me, I would take my business somewhere else. I'll vote with my feet. Vote with my dollars. I'll choose to patronize someone else's establishment. Why would I want to spend my hard-earned money, my dollars that I've earned, and why would I want to spend it on your business if you don't support me or my lifestyle or my choices or whatever reason, my race, whatever? If you are a bigot or you just are a jerk and you don't like me, why would I want to support your business? There's plenty of businesses out there. And let's say, for example, we lived in a world where there were no places that were making cakes for same-sex couples to get married. No one would do it. And it's not by law. Now, there's a difference here. This is not Jim Crow South, all right? Jim Crow South was the government passed laws mandating segregation, all right? Mandated by the government, where if you as an individual business owner decided that you didn't want to have your business segregated, didn't matter, you had to. State mandated. That's not what this is. If we're living in a society where segregation isn't Jim Crow South mandated, and anyone's free to start a business doing anything that they want, serving these same-sex weddings, all right, if there is a demand for it, it will be filled. So let's say there is no businesses that are willing to provide same-sex weddings, their cakes. no bakeries out there. One will be started. Somebody will say, dang, that sounds like a good idea. There's nobody filling that demand. There's this demand, but there's no market for it, or there's no supply of it. Holy crap, I'll make a killing. And I would be thinking the same thing. I would be doing that same exact thing no matter what it was. You fill a niche in a market, supply and demand. People want what they need, and somebody will fill that demand. I don't think it's necessary for us to collectively come together and say, we don't care what your beliefs are, you need to do X, Y, or Z. I disagree with that. I don't think that we should be forcing people to do something against their will, and I think it is inherently immoral, and we shouldn't definitely not be using the threat of governmental force to do it. And on top of that, every time that you pass a law, when push comes to shove, and I say this all the time and I hope it sticks, I really do, because every time that you pass a law, you're saying that the government can kill somebody who violates that law. If push comes to shove, if everything came down to it, somebody could die. Just look at Eric Gardner. It's the perfect example. He was killed for tax money, a couple of dollars of tax money too, because he was selling loose cigarettes. And the government didn't get their little tax cut, and they sent their enforcement arm out there, which is the police. And the police went out and enforced a law that's on the books, and they used too much force and killed the guy. I mean, what better example is there? Now, every law on the books, when you need to ask yourself, every single law, is it worth somebody dying over? No. Not every single law on our books is worth dying over. Dog tags, think about it. Like getting your dogs licensed, and there's some state laws that require dogs to have rabies vaccinations and things like that. So if somebody said, no, I'm not going to vaccinate my dog, and the police wanted to come take your dog away from you for not vaccinating it, and you said, no, you're not taking my dog, and you hold up in your house and you say anybody comes in is going to get a lead sandwich or something like that. I'm horrible at insults and threatening people, by the way, so that I still say sorry. I still say things like 1950s mobsters. You know, I say you're gonna get or 1920s. That's what it is. You're gonna get a lead sandwich. It's gonna be curtains for you. Curtains, see, curtains. So I'm horrible at threatening people. The point is that if it came down to it, and the police come in and try to take this dog away from this individual, they'll do so. And eventually, they will win. Even if they don't have the monopoly of force at this location right now, at some point they will. The reinforcements will come running. Eventually, the person trying to defy the police will be outgunned and outnumbered. And if it comes down to it, they could die. So over a dog license. A dog license. Is this something that we really think is worth somebody dying over? And just the same situation. And I think this is even more of a powder keg, because you're talking about somebody's religious rights with somebody refusing to bake a cake for a same-sex wedding. They're doing so because they have a belief, a religious belief that they cannot, even though they know that they will get essentially lynched in the court of public opinion, that they believe this so strongly that even though there will be negative consequences, they cannot do it. So this is a powder keg, in my personal opinion. I think that this will lead to somebody dying. And more importantly, why are we getting involved telling people who they have to associate with? The arguments that I'm seeing about things being a public commodity, this is not a public commodity. All right, and the argument, I want to read the post I made on our Facebook page here, okay? This is by Josh on our Facebook page. He said, unfortunately, the bakers cannot claim force. They chose to run a business as a public accommodation. As such, they must offer their services to everyone. That is part of the public, including homosexuals, okay? And then another Josh, different Josh here, said they were forced to run it as a public accommodation, as there is no way under the law to do it any other way. So, and Josh, the other Josh here, the one who originally was saying this, he says, untrue. No one is forced to open a business in the first place, let alone as a public accommodation. Licensing a business requires you to agree to the following to follow laws that govern that type of business. Also, They could have easily opened the business as privately conducting studio where the bakers work on commission and are independently contractors, which gives them the option to refuse any business they choose to refuse. They can also open as an exclusive contract holding business and contract through local churches to do work for only members of those churches. So anyway, I understand where he's coming from, okay? I get what you're saying, but when you're talking about licensing a business, and these people probably didn't think that they were even going to run into this situation, let alone, let's by the way, I see we have a caller. We're going to go ahead and continue talking about the story. I think it's Steve again, actually. Steve, give us a call back in a minute. I want to get to your comments again, but I want to get to the rest of the stuff here before we start talking. Anyway, they when you see public accommodation, okay, and now I don't personally know what the business owners were thinking. They were probably saying, hey, this is open to the public, no big deal. And who knows, even when they created this business, even if gay marriage was even legal in their state at the time. So that could have changed. Their customer base could have changed. Who knows what could have happened. But my entire point is that you can't say that you give up rights simply because you've got a license from the government, okay? So we for example, let me just point out here. Let's talk about gun rights, for example, okay? Concealed carry permits. You don't sacrifice rights just because you got a license to do that. You still have those rights. It's not like you've agreed to a certain set of rules that can now limit you, and in some cases you do. But I disagree that can even be done because, again, these rights can't even be waived. These rights are unalienable. No one can put a lien on them. You can't give them away. The government can't take them. It doesn't matter. They exist. They're natural rights. That's the kind of the point. And there's no point in having these rights if they can just be waived or given away. So when we're talking about a business license, okay, just because you apply for a business license and you agree to do certain things when you have this business license, it doesn't mean that you number one, you don't have your freedom of religion anymore, that someone can force you to participate in a religious ceremony that goes against your religious beliefs. That right doesn't go away. And number two, you also don't lose your freedom of association. You still have that right to choose who you associate with. And I don't give a damn what the government says regarding licenses and the type of business and that you have to do these things. It is morally wrong to force people to go against their beliefs, to do something against their will. It is immoral. Now, moving on, I want to talk about a couple different things. First of all, we had a comment on here. Steve says he's referring to the amount of money that is being fined on these guys, being levied upon these guys. It's $135,000, as I said, on the Sweet Cakes by Melissa, I believe, if I'm remembering that correctly. I'm looking it up. Yeah, Sweet Cakes by Melissa. So $135,000, Steve comments, that's about the same amount of restitution money awarded in a typical vehicular homicide case. Wow. Butthurt is the same as homicide. All right, we're taking this call now. Hey, caller, is this Steve?
Yep.
What's on your mind, Steve? What you got?
Okay. Is this Matt?
Yes, this is Matt.
Okay. You are totally wrong about people, when they get a license, give up their rights. It is a fact that in order for you to have a business, you have to have a license. That license is a contract. Give you an example. Okay? Now, I want to start a business, so I have to go to the city council. And I tell the council, I want to start a business. Do you know what the first thing they tell me I've got to do? I've got to get a permit. That permit means that I have to follow their guidelines. In this instance, in my town, if I go get a permit to start a business, I have to hire union workers. That's going to add cost to me. If I don't use union workers, they will refuse me a license, and they will refuse me a permit because I'm not doing what they said. Anybody who has a license, and I tried to explain this earlier, anybody that's involved with a license from a state, federal, city, or whatever, you are signing into a contract with them to go according to their rules. You have no rights no more.
So I agree with you as far as the letter of the law, the way it plays out right now. That is the way it happens and the way that the government looks at it. However, I disagree with the fact that those rights are being waived. In my personal opinion, and this is just me and my personal philosophy on rights in general, is that your rights are innate. They exist no matter whether or not someone is not acknowledging their existence anymore, or your right to have those rights. They still exist. So you can't give them away. No one can take them away because they are natural. So, though in the case of licenses, the way, and I agree with you completely as far as what you're saying, the way it operates now is we are in fact assigning away some of our rights when we enter into these contracts, these agreements. However, I don't think that means those rights are gone and they're out in the ether and you just don't have them anymore. I think that they're just not being respected and you're not asserting them anymore. Would you agree with that statement?
Well, then why is the cake shop owner paying a $135,000 fine?
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. I'm not sure.
I don't want to take up time. You got a long show to go yet. Yeah. I got pumped up when Josh made the comment that a business owner don't give up no rights to have. He's totally wrong. You give up rights. You got to do away. Whatever city you live in, what state you live in, it's unbelievable. And I went and I talked to these people. It's unbelievable the hoops that you got to jump through, what you got to do according to them.
And I agree, and this is why I'm against licenses in general, just all licenses. I think that it is an undue burden on the population, and it does force us to put ourselves in a kind of a legal limbo here, where we're sacrificing and agreeing to give up some of our rights in order to perform something that is a right in general. Just to
do you know that we never had to have licenses until 1913?
Well, that's when the progressive agenda started kicking in. They established the IRS. They started. Shortly after that, we had prohibition. This is when the nanny state Leviathan really started turning on and started to control every aspect of her life. I'm with you though, Steve, on this one. I'll tell you
what, Mac. After later on, I'm going to finish listening to your show because I like listening to your shows and stuff. And I'll get with you. And I want to give you some information. It might open your eyes up a little bit.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate it. And I really do appreciate you participating in the conversation. This is why I do this. So I love this conversation. I just know I'm sitting on a stack of news stories I haven't got to yet. We're going. By the way, everybody out there, we're going in overdrive because I'm going to get to all this stuff. I'm tired of not being able to finish all the stuff I want to get to. So there's so much stuff out there we're going to cover. And by the way, Steve, thanks again for calling. I really do appreciate your time and your involvement.
Thank you for putting up with me.
No worries. Call in anytime, man. Anytime at all. All right. So anyway, regarding this. This case here, I want to talk quickly here about a few other aspects of it. So first of all, there's an article here I want to read. This is on the Daily Signal. It's regarding this cake, this cake baker. There we go. And I'll read the article real quick. An Oregon administrative law judge recommended today that bakers who refuse to bake a cake for same-sex weddings should be fined $135,000. The forum concludes that $75,000 and $60,000 are appropriate awards to compensate the same-sex couple for emotional suffering they experienced. Let's go back to the comment made by Steve on our Facebook post regarding butt hurt. And he's right. This is basically somebody getting their feelings hurt. Oh, shucks. And they have to go somewhere else to get a service from somebody. And the concept of service, before we get to this article, I just want to talk about the concept of service because that's what this is. These people are providing a service. So if you're saying that you have a right to someone's service, you're saying you have a right to someone's time. Where does that go? It's just like the Obamacare conversation, and this is basically leads to socialism, where we all are required to provide these services because it's our duty as a collective to, this is our little part. We're a cog in the wheel. This is what we're supposed to do. No, you have a freedom. You have liberty. You are a free individual. You have control over yourself and your decisions. You control what you do, not the government, and the government shouldn't be involved. As long as you're not depriving somebody of their rights or hurting others, it shouldn't be illegal. The government shouldn't be involved. So denying somebody your service is not depriving somebody somebody of their rights, they have the right to go somewhere else. They can go anywhere else. They don't have to be denied by even getting this cake. They can go a million other places. They can go anywhere, but not at this one store. Someone will help them. They have a right to go continue looking, but they don't have a right to your service, your time, your toil, for any reason. It doesn't matter if they're gay. It could be just because a million reasons. Whatever. I've already covered this. Anyway, Aaron and Melissa Klein, owners of Sweet Cakes by Melissa, located in Gresham, Oregon, say the fine is enough to potentially bankrupt their family of 7. Now let's move on to the other topic I want to get to, GoFundMe. They created a GoFundMe account, and GoFundMe canceled their account. And oddly enough, I support GoFundMe. I support Sweet Cakes by Melissa, and I support GoFundMe. Let's talk about it, and let's explain why, okay? The owners of the bakery, found guilty of an anti-gay discrimination, have had their fundraising campaign canceled and believe the devil is behind it. So this is the article on the newcivilrightsmovement.com by David Bash, April 25th, 2015. And he said Friday, after nearly 2 years in court, an Oregon judge recommended Aaron and Melissa Klein be fined $135,000 for discriminating against a same-sex couple. The Kleins, who owns Sweet Cakes by Melissa, had refused to bake a wedding cake for the couple. On their Facebook page yesterday, the Kleins posted a link to GoFundMe fundraising campaign set up for them. In just 4 hours, it reached over $20,000. It quickly increased to a reported $109,000 before GoFundMe canceled it. Why? GoFundMe says it does not allow money to be raised on their site for people who have been found to be in violation of the law. After careful review by our team, we have found the Support Sweet Cakes by Melissa campaign to be in violation of our terms of service, GoFundMe said in a statement. The money raised thus far will still be made available for withdrawal. While a different campaign was recently permitted for a pizzeria in Indiana, no laws were violated and the campaign remained live. However, the subjects of the Support Sweet Cakes by Melissa campaign have been formally charged by local authorities and found to be in violation of Oregon state law concerning discriminatory acts. Accordingly, the campaign has been disabled. Upon learning the news, the Kleins took to their Facebook page again. Evidently, GoFundMe has shut down our page. Shut down our GoFundMe page. Sorry, I can't read. And will not let us raise any money. Satan's really at work, but I know our God has a plan and wins in the end. So that was their post on Facebook. First of all, I support Sweet Cakes by Melissa. I support their right of association, their freedom of association to choose who they associate with. They shouldn't be forced to basically, bake anything or do anything that they don't want to do. If it's against their religious views or they just don't want to associate with those people for whatever reason. Everything I've already previously discussed today. But GoFundMe, they have the same right as well. They can do it's a business. That's what it is. It's a business. So, for those of you screaming for the heads of GoFundMe executives or something along those lines, I personally do not care that GoFundMe did this because they're asserting their freedom of association. So, now, what if it was illegal to discriminate against people who were convicted? Well, that would be another thing. But what if GoFundMe decided that they still didn't want to have any kind of donation relations with criminals? I still think they would have a right to do that. Now, it may be in conflict with the law, but again, that's freedom of association, and that's where I stand. I think if you're going to be for it, you got to be for it all the time. You can't be for it just some of the time, And here's the difference, though, okay? Now, let's throw a wrench into this scenario. Let's imagine that GoFundMe was getting money, or it was a public entity. It was getting money from the public, from the government. Then at that point, I think they apply to all the governmental rules, and I don't think they have that freedom of association anymore. If you're getting government funds, if you're getting money from the people, that means everybody essentially kind of owns your business. They have a stake in it because they've helped fund it. So with that same logic, you wouldn't be able to discriminate against the very people that are funding you. You see what I mean? That's kind of where I feel about that. So, but again, courts will be different, and this is just my opinion, and I'm sure some of you have different opinions. If you do, feel free to give us a call. Number to the show is 360-450-5625. Again, that's 360-450-5625. You can message us on Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. You can get us on Twitter, Twitter.com/OnTheMoveShow. So, here we go. We're going to go ahead and cut to a commercial. We're going to wrap it up on HaywireGulch.com. And when we come back, we got a couple more things I want to get to here. I want to talk about the Democratic senator who says slavery was the right thing for the time. His name just so happens to be Chuck Riley, something you may be familiar with. We were talking about this on the last episode, how there is a campaign to recall Chuck Riley. So anyway, he's been in the news. We're going to talk about what he said about slavery, and I have the clip, so we'll play it. Anyway, we're going to cut to a quick commercial break. When we get back on the other side, we're going to be in the Overdrive Hour, and I appreciate you guys sticking with us. For those of you on HaywireGulch.com, I just want to say thanks for tuning in, guys. And by the way, those of you out there, if you haven't checked out HaywireGulch.com, go check it out. It's a great community of patriots and preppers. Lots of cool people over there. You should definitely check them out. And anyway, we'll be right back after this message, guys. Don't go anywhere.
Oath Keepers is a nonpartisan association of current active duty military, reserve, guard, veterans, peace officers, and firefighters who will fulfill the oath we swore. With the support of like-minded citizens who take an oath to stand with us, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help us God. Join us at oathkeepers.org.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/OnTheMoveShow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mac Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mac Worley III.
All right, we're back. I want to talk here about some messages here I'm getting. So first of all, in 1997, according to one of our listeners, one man and one woman was basically decided in the Defense of Marriage Act. That was DOMA. And let's see, for federal purposes, it was defined as only a legal union between a man and a woman as a husband. So that's where that definition of a man and a woman. So thank you, Devin, for that information. I appreciate it. We were talking about that earlier. So anywho, let's get to another topic here. I want to talk about this situation with Chuck Riley. Senator Chuck Riley. Good old up Chuck. So let's see here. I got the clip. And this is in an article on Progressivestoday.com titled, Democrat Senator Says Slavery Was Right for the Time. And, okay, this is a recent constituent coffee town hall in Oregon State Senator Chuck Riley took heat from pro-gun folks who were upset with his vote for the universal background check bill. Riley attempted to defend this numerous different ways, including referencing Supreme Court decisions. When one citizen asked him about the Supreme Court upholding slavery back in the 1800s, Riley said they were right for the time. Here's the clip, guys. Any second. It's loading.
I don't think we should be voting on things that concern rights. It's not for election.
Well, but the Supreme Court's already said that this does infringe on the rights. The Supreme Court's already ruled on
Chuck,
this.
use your head, okay? If you gotta get, you have to get permission.
Okay, the one that's talking right now, that is a citizen talking, and I'll tell you what.
I exercise a right. It's not a right. You know that. Come on. You swore an oath to defend the Constitution, to defend our rights.
So the Constitution says that the Supreme Court is the supreme arbiter of what the Constitution says. And the Supreme Court has said that this is not an unconstitutional.
So when the Supreme Court said that slavery is legal, they was right then too.
They were right for the time until they changed it.
Jesus Christ, folks, just hear
the
that?
Supreme.
Okay. A senator just said that the Supreme Court was right for the time about upholding slavery. Okay. So that could be the end of the clip. There could be so much we could talk about just on that. But let's continue the clip because we're halfway through. There is more ridiculousness. Here we go.
Court decides what they were right about the Constitution.
You were there in
They were right about the Constitution.
I'm sorry, what, ma'am?
You were there when the Supreme Court made that.
No, I wasn't born yet, but you can read all about it in the history books.
But the Constitution really said the same thing. I mean, what they did eventually was to override the Constitution.
Was to override their first decision.
That's right.
Okay, because they were wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're wrong here too.
Well, but I'm not the person who can decide that. And neither are you.
No, but you're using it. You're using it to take away our rights.
I'm using it to pass a law.
That takes away our rights.
You think takes away your rights. That's exactly
right. Yeah, I'm not going to comply with it.
But it protects my rights. So I say, how does it?
Okay, so now we got another citizen here saying that it protects my rights. Let's listen to his explanation here. He's asking, the other citizen is asking, how does a law with universal background checks protect your rights?
Protect your rights.
Because that way there's one more step for a criminal not to have done.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So not only do we have the slavery situation, and now we got a citizen saying that this is one more step for a criminal to get a gun. Here's what happened after that.
They don't care about that.
Okay, so criminals don't care about background checks. And I would really love, by the way, if you're a felon and you happen to be in possession of a gun, please give us a call here, 360-450-5625, 360-450-5625. I want to hear how you got your gun, felons out there. Because I'm willing to bet that you didn't get a background check. And I know I'm not going to get any calls. Watch the phone just blow up here. That'd be great. But, no, seriously, a criminal is not going through the process of getting a background check. They're not. By definition, they are criminals, i.e. they don't follow the law. So requiring them to go get a background check before buying a gun is just something they're not going to do. Number one, they know they're not going to pass that background check. So why would they submit to it when that is, in fact, against the law to even try? So they know that they would get in trouble for even trying. And secondly, they don't need to. They can just go steal a gun, buy a gun from somebody who stole a gun, or buy a gun from straw purchasers who buy guns for them and then sell them to them. This happens all the time. They call it straw purchasing, where people who have clean records will buy guns for felons who can't get guns and sell it to them. That happens a lot. So having a background check is really not stopping anybody from getting a gun who is a criminal, because they can just take guns from other people. And all it's really doing is preventing law-abiding citizen, putting another blockade between a law-abiding citizen and their right to keep and bear arms. That, again, was never given by the government, exists naturally, and the government can't infringe upon it according to the Constitution. But yet they continue to infringe and chip away at this right like it never existed in the first place, like they bestowed it upon us. There's another video in this article here, and I want to play this as well because I think it illustrates the point perfectly. And it's basically, it's the senator, again, and they're talking about what will this law do, basically? How will this work?
Legitimate question here. Okay, let's say John and I know John, I've known him for a few years.
Yeah.
Let's say I want to buy a gun from him.
Yeah.
I go to his place, we meet in his garage, I buy a gun from him. How are you going to know that we just broke the law? Furthermore, on inverse from that, what if two criminals decided to meet in their garage and do the deal? How are you going to know that they just broke the law?
I won't.
How will the sheriff know?
I
Or
don't
the
know.
state police?
I don't know.
You know who?
But if
You
you
know
take that gun and you commit a crime and they do an
that this is
investigation, that's
unenforceable.
how they'll know.
Okay, so one of his aides sitting right there next to Chuck, and she says, so if they take that gun and they do an investigation and track it down, they can find out who that gun belonged to.
All right, how are they going to know that he sold that it was his gun in the first place?
She's shrugging her shoulders. She's like, I don't know, man. It's science, man. Science, dude.
There's only one way to know, and that's to connect his name to the serial number in a database, and that's called what? Registration.
Slippery slope? That's a good thing.
Registration's a good thing. Okay, so when they...
So they're talking about registration. That's how it will go, and this is how it leads into it. She's right about it being a slippery slope, by the way. That's probably the smartest thing she said all day. So the point is that in order for them to do any of this stuff, they have to register your guns. In order for them to be able to prevent the criminals from having the guns, they have to take them from everybody. They have to find out where they belong or where they're at initially. So by registration, you're required to registration, and registration leads to confiscation. So eventually, it won't be enough. Criminals will still be getting guns, and this is actually oddly familiar. I remember hearing this somewhere, and let me see if I can find the clip for it because I think you'll actually hear this as well. You'll remember this conversation. Let me see if I can find it here. Oh, here we go. We got Katie Worthman condemning gun control. Katie Worthman is a Holocaust survivor. She survived Hitler's Germany, and she's talking about gun control and kind of the steps up in Germany. What happened there?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Katie Worthman.
Thank you very much. I was born in Austria, and I lived there 7 years under Hitler's brutal regime. And after World War II, 3 years under Soviet communist occupation. In 1938, the media reported that Hitler rolled into Austria with tanks and guns and took us over. Not true at all. The Austrian people elected Hitler by 98% of the vote by means of the ballot box. Now, you might ask, how could a Christian nation, almost 100% Catholic, to elect a monster like Hitler? The truth is, at the beginning, Hitler didn't look like or talk like a monster at all. He talked like an American politician. We also had gun registration. Oh, the Austrian people they all had guns. But the government said the guns are very dangerous. Children are playing with guns, hunting accidents happen, and we really have to have total control, safety. And we had criminals again. And the only way that we can trace the criminal was by the serial number of the gun.
Does that sound familiar? All right, so it's the same situation lead up to it, okay? Oh, crime, and for the kids, oh, hunting accidents. Oh no, we have to protect the children, and we have to stop criminals from getting guns. So we're going to be able to track it with serial numbers, and then what's next?
So we dutifully went to the police station and we registered our guns.
They registered. Of course, that's the next step. Serial numbers, background checks, registration, because none of this stuff is good enough. None of it will be good enough. What is good enough? Oh, well, the next step.
Not long after, they said, no, it didn't help. The only way that we don't have accidents and crimes, you bring the guns to the police station, and then we don't have any crimes anymore and any accidents. And if you don't do that, capital punishment.
This is the path. All right, this is the path that has happened in history over and over and over again. You have registration and confiscation, and it's always under the guise of it being for the children, or it's always under the guise of trying to prevent the guns from getting in the wrong hands. What happens is it always leads down this path because background checks are obviously not good enough, because they don't work. Criminals don't submit to background checks. Registration will not work because, oh, guess what? Criminals don't register their guns. Let's see, what else? Confiscation. Oh yeah, you have to go turn in your gun. Yeah, right, criminals don't do that, and they will laugh. So what you've done is you've created more of a burden on the law-abiding citizen that wishes to get a gun to protect themselves, not to hurt anyone else. But many of those law-abiding citizens may be put off by the fact that now there's all these layers of bureaucracy that they have to cut through, slice through this red tape before they can assert their right to bear arms. Not their privilege, their right to bear arms. So many people may get discouraged and just decide, you know what, it's not worth the hassle. I'll just get a sword or a machete or a big bat. You know, some people may not care, may not really worry about it like that. So they may just give up, and many people would. So what you're doing is you're making it harder for people to assert the right, and then you're discouraging people to assert the right as well. Again, not a privilege, it's a right. And in the meantime, you're not getting rid of crime. You may be making it slightly more difficult for a criminal to get a gun, but not really. Not really. There are so many other options. By definition, criminals break laws. And if laws were really the answer to our problem regarding crime, then there would be no murders, there would be no assaults, there would be no burglaries. Why? Because all of these things are already illegal. So more laws and more papers in a Capitol building somewhere is not going to prevent crime. The answer is freedom, liberty, giving people the option to carry if they want, to protect themselves if they desire. I mean, regardless, it's not even the government's choice. It's not even their right to give. It's your right. You have it innately. Just the mere fact that you were born, the mere fact that your heart is beating right now means that you have the right to defend your life and the right of your family. No government can ever take that right away from you. No government can ever ask you to sign it away and it just go away. Just because you aren't demanding that they respect your rights, you know, even if you want to have it waived, doesn't mean that right doesn't exist. It still exists. It will always be there. It's unalienable. No one can take it away. You can't even give it away. Anyway, I want to actually finish up here with Katie Worthman's speech because I love his speech so much. I think it's so impactful. I want to play the rest of this, and then I want to talk about the clip from Chuck Riley some more.
So that's what we did. So dictatorship didn't happen overnight. It took 5 years, gradually, little by little, to escalate up to a dictatorship. When the people fear the government, that's tyranny. But when the government fears the people, that's you. That's liberty. Keep your guns. keep your guns and buy more guns.
Katie Worthman, Holocaust survivor, talking about gun control. So I happen to think that is one of the most powerful speeches I've ever heard, and we've played it on this show a couple of times. You know, I really like it. I think it fits in typically most of these kind of situations. So back to this clip with Chuck Riley. We're talking about how this gun law would work. So let me backtrack just a little bit here, and he was basically the person in the video was asking, you know, how is this going to prevent somebody from getting a gun in their garage, you know, and just handing it off, selling it to somebody in their home or garage or something like that, to a friend, or two criminals doing that same thing?
They say no one's talking about registration. You are. How is registration going to stop Clackamas from happening? How is registration going to stop Sandy Hook from happening?
None of those things would happen.
All right, so let me also just clarify, if I'm remembering correctly, and maybe I'm misremembering here, but I believe Adam Lanza, maybe I'm misremembering. I don't know. I think Sandy Hook was done by that's the son who stole the weapon from a legal owner of a gun, his mother. All right, stole the weapons from her after he had killed her. So registration, if I'm remembering this situation correctly, perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps I'm thinking about something else. But in that scenario, registration would not have stopped it. It wouldn't have changed a thing because he took a gun from his mother, killed his mother with the gun that was legally registered, she was able to have. But how is registration preventing that crime from happening? It wouldn't have. It would have still happened, just like many crimes will continue to happen even after they pass some kind of registration scheme. In fact, you're more likely to see crime rates go up because of numerous, many factors. But number one, there are some places where I've heard about registered gun owners being put in the actual newspapers with their address in some cases. So criminals know exactly where the guns are. So they know exactly what houses to steal from. That's one scenario. But additionally, less people are going to have guns when things are registered. Less people, and definitely less people will have guns when guns are confiscated due to registration. So anyway, the video goes on. I want to play the rest of this clip.
If we kept better track of our guns, whether it was handguns, AK-47s, or whatever.
How's it going to stop someone from stealing a gun and using that in a crime?
It won't.
Boom. Right there.
There we go.
So, you know, it won't actually stop anything. You know, if they are stealing guns, which is typically where they're going to get their guns from, is buying stolen guns on the black market. And that's what you've created, is a black market. When you do this, when you outlaw something, when you prohibit something, you create a black market, and there will be consequences for your actions. People will still get guns. Criminals will find a way. You know, there's actually a great quote, and I'm going to read this one to you here. I think it's Sammy the Bull Gravano gun control quote. All right. Yeah, this is a good quote. You guys are going to like this one. Okay. So Sammy Gravano is a gangster. He's a mobster. And he was asked about gun control. And this is what he had to say about it. Gun control, it's the best thing you can do for crooks and gangsters. I want you to have nothing. If I'm a bad guy, I'm always going to have a gun. Safety locks, you pull the trigger with the lock on, and I'll pull the trigger. We'll see who wins. Sammy the Bull Gravano. That's the attitude of a criminal, everyone. This is where they're coming from. They're always going to have a gun, whether or not they buy it legally or they make it and build it. It is not a complicated process. If you have access to machining tools with a little bit of know-how, and by the way, lots of information on the internet on how to build your own gun from scratch. I mean, it is completely possible to build your own gun. You know, they would have to do so much, regulate so many different things. Even explosives can be made from homemade materials, so people can make their own stuff. Gunpowder at one point was a modern invention. Somebody can make it. You can make gunpowder if you know the chemical properties that go behind it. So even still, if somebody is bound and determined to get a gun, they'll get one. They'll make one. Somebody will be able to sell a gun to somebody with criminal intent. The answer is not to try to take away guns from everybody, because all you're going to do is take away guns from people that would have used those guns to defend themselves from the bad guys. But now nobody has guns but the bad guys. It's a bad, bad situation. And let's talk about Senator Chuck Riley here, okay? So with Chuck, he's in support of these universal background checks, and I guarantee you he'd be in support of registration and ultimately confiscation, because apparently he doesn't respect your right to keep and bear arms. There is currently a movement going on to recall Chuck Riley. So please look into that, because we need to get this guy out of here. He's definitely not respecting your right to keep and bear arms if you're an Oregon citizen, and this is not just relating to Oregon citizens. This is everyone. This affects us all. So even if you're not from Oregon, it would behoove you to let Chuck Riley know what you think about his position on gun control and your right to keep and bear arms, because he apparently thinks that it's okay. And in addition to that, he thinks that slavery, right for the time, doesn't matter. He doesn't care about the right of individuals. He cares about what 9 people in robes had to say. I think it's a little bit ridiculous. If you want to have the conversation, and we've had it many times regarding, the constitutionality of slavery. On a whole, it's obviously it's immoral. I completely and wholeheartedly disagree with the institution of slavery, coercing someone to do something against their will. Slavery is abhorrent. It's an absolutely horrible thing. And the founders, we've had this discussion. Actually, we did a whole show on this. The founders were in kind of a tight spot because they were trying to basically make concessions with the South regarding signing this contract. That's essentially what the Constitution is. It's a contract. And in order to get them to sign this contract and join the Union, they had to make some of those concessions, and those concessions were slavery. Slavery was actually in the Constitution. It's actually a part of our Constitution. It was constitutionally protected. So in some aspects, he's right. Chuck Riley, he's right regarding it was right for the time. If you're talking about it was constitutionally protected, I'm just astounded that a politician would take this position and would say these kind of things. It was right for the time and not go into explaining where he's coming from. I'm trying to play devil's advocate here a little bit and explain maybe what his intention was. Maybe he just actually supports slavery. I don't know. Maybe he thinks that slavery was okay back then, but because the Supreme Court changed their mind, then now, no, it's not. Maybe he believes that the ultimate arbiter of all things moral is the Supreme Court. So whatever they say goes. I happen to disagree. I think that, what is moral does not necessarily change depending on what a document says or who agrees with you. What is moral is essentially, to me, is just not using force on others, following the non-aggression principle, not imposing your will on others, not depriving others of their rights. And slavery obviously does both of those things. So he doesn't even elaborate on it. So we really don't know where he stands. I think this is going to be a kind of a nightmare for him. I think he misspoke, or maybe he just accidentally slipped and said how he really feels. I don't know. However, I want to move to another quick story. We got a bunch of stories. Like I said, we got a ton of stories here. And I want to specifically talk about something and just kind of open up this conversation for you guys and see what you have to say, okay? So I was challenged here on Facebook about where I stand on some certain issues here. So I want to share this conversation with you because I love transparency, everything open. So I posted, who would you pick? It's a meme, and I asked, why would you also pick these? And it's for president, okay? It's got a picture of Rand Paul, Hillary Clinton, Ted Cruz, and Marco Rubio. So I wanted to just kind of get a feel for what you guys are thinking out there. These are the candidates who are out there right now that had stepped forward. I don't know if any other serious candidates have come forward yet, but as of this post, that was all that there was. So I was curious. A lot of you guys said, let's see, we had Rand Paul. A lot of people saying nada. A lot of people saying no, they don't want any of these guys. One person said that I'm a mean guy. Where are all the good choices? A lot of people, like I said, none of them. I used to like Rand Paul, but he's become too liberal for my taste. None of the above. Kind of like asking which poison you'd rather drink. A lot of people are really disenfranchised from this system, and I can't really argue with it. I get where you're coming from, but where I was challenged on, and I want to actually show this here to you guys, and you guys, I'd like to hear your take on this. I was asked where I stand on Ted Cruz. Well, actually, where I actually stand here regarding the candidates. And my post was, out of these candidates, Ted Cruz, because I think that he will do the most to shrink the size of the government. He has said that he wants to abolish the IRS, and that's something that I can completely get behind. I'm still not completely sure if I'm going to be voting for him. I'm kind of torn right now between a Libertarian candidate. I'm hoping Gary Johnson will run. If he does, I may have a hard time not voting for Gary Johnson. And then I went on to say, I can't get behind Rand Paul for the simple reason that he was instrumental in getting Mitch McConnell reelected by endorsing him. Then Mitch went on to kick the can down the road on the debt ceiling once again. An endorsement of Mitch is an endorsement of his policies, which I oppose. Concerning Rubio, I don't like him because he has ties to Jeb Bush and considers him a bit of a mentor, and that alone is enough to put me off. And Hillary is a progressive, and I'm just not going to vote for her. So, like I said, I may end up voting for third party, but we're going to see how things develop. And then the question I was asked is that because of his citizenship, Ted Cruz's citizenship, and they were asking, let's see, we had Ted Cruz has dual citizenship between U.S. and Canada. Were you aware of that, or does anyone really care about the rules anymore? And my response to this is, Cruz is legally qualified to serve as a president. He was birthed by a U.S. citizen in a foreign country. I know many Americans, some of which who are currently serving military, who are in the same boat. Many Army brats have dual citizenship. Are you saying that children born from parents currently serving in foreign territory should not be given full rights of citizenship? If so, I would disagree. I don't think that it was the intent of our founders. This requirement was put there as a way of preventing foreign infiltration into our executive branch. Clearly, Ted Cruz is an American. And I provided a link to factcheck.org on this post as well. So if you want to check it out, it's on our group page. So it's facebook.com/groups/OnTheMoveShow. If you have not joined this group already, you should be a part of it. We have some really interesting conversations, and I love the diversity of thought that is in this group. So many people from different points of view, different political persuasions. I love this conversation that we had. So anyway, you can check out a bunch of other responses on there about it. And anyway, I want to move on to one last thing here, and this is going to be how we're going to wrap up the show. And I really am kind of bothered and disturbed by this video, and I kind of want to see what you guys have to say about it. So this is a video from YouTube by a Berkeley students reacting to an ISIS flag, and also a Israeli flag, and you're going to see the difference of what people do here. Okay, it's a quick video. It's, by the way, the YouTube channel is Amy AMI Horowitz, and anyway, here's a clip.
We're here on campus at the University of California at Berkeley to find out how offensive students find the ISIS flag. ISIS is misunderstood.
So he's standing out on the steps of a college campus, and he's waving the ISIS flag, and people are walking by, and no one's really paying much attention to him.
We just want our own state. Why does America keep bombing us? America and Western imperialism are to blame, not ISIS. We just want a state of our own, an Islamic state, no different than America. We do not want to hurt anybody else if we don't have to hurt them. Why is America killing us? They're killing innocent civilians. America is causing the death in Iraq and in Syria. America is to blame for the deaths in Syria.
So there are people just walking by him. Some people look. Most people are just avoiding eye contact and walking away. No one's saying a word to him.
Not ISIS, not Islamic State.
More people walking by. Another group.
Thank you, sir.
One guy says, "Good luck."
The blood of the Middle East is on the hands of America.
This is in America. On a college campus in America.
Imperialism is responsible for death all around the world. Right?
This college kid starts nodding his head as he's walking around, or walking by.
That's right. We are ISIS. We are love. We don't want to harm anybody. We're forced to. by American imperialism and American laws. Right?
People are giving them the fist up in the air, like, we support you. This is an ISIS flag. They're literally saying ISIS propaganda, and this is to prove a point here. He's not a supporter of ISIS, but this is him showing what their reactions will be at Berkeley student reaction at this campus.
On.
You can't smoke on campus. They're going to cite you.
Oh,
so
thanks.
He lit a cigarette and he's smoking on campus, and now somebody approaches you. Hey, you can't smoke on campus. They're going to cite you.
Appreciate it. Then again, tolerance has always been an important value at Berkeley. Israel's what?
Okay, now he has switched flags and he's carrying a Israeli flag, and somebody says Israel is a thief in the night.
I don't even know what that means, sir. And what's Hamas is a great place, right?
He said it's the greatest, Hamas. So he obviously supports Hamas.
Israel protects Palestinian human rights. Yes, it does.
Now somebody's saying no, it doesn't.
Israel protects.
And they're flipping him off. The whole world knows you're wrong. That's some of the things people are saying. So people are obviously more animated behind the hate behind Israel than they're animated behind, opposing ISIS. So, no big deal with the terrorist organization that's chopping heads off, and the streets are running with blood. Literally, they're killing people in troves here. No problem. But, they have a major problem with Israel, though.
Only Hamas is responsible. Right? You agree with that?
No, not really.
You don't agree with
No,
that?
not really.
You don't agree that
No, we
Hamas
don't.
is a terrorist organization?
And he's asking, do you agree that Hamas is a terrorist organization? He said no.
Hamas a terrorist organization?
Somebody just said F Israel.
Excuse me? That's the way you respond? I can't hear what you're saying.
All of Israel killer.
All of Israelis are killers. That's what another person said.
All of Israel are killers and Hamas are not killers?
No.
Tyranny isn't cute.
What? Isn't cute?
Tyranny isn't cute.
Right, tyranny's not cute. Hamas is not cute.
That flag you wave is the psychological genocide of this planet.
Somebody just walked by and flipped him off.
Killing kids.
I'm sick.
Somebody said you're killing kids, you're sick.
Hamas is a terrorist organization. Do you not agree with that, sir?
Whatever, yo, free Palestine from Israel, dude.
This institution is part of the people who enslaved the whole planet. Allahu Akbar!
Alrighty, so people get more worked up about about Israel than they do about ISIS, and I've been called an Israeli worshiper or something along those lines, and I just want to say, I personally, I don't really worship at the altar of Israel, but I'm also not hating them either. They are literally a strategic ally. So I'll give you my official Israel position, just so you guys can know it and disagree with me, and feel free to comment. Let me know where you stand, and it's okay if we disagree. That's kind of the point. That's the point of this show. So let's disagree together. In unison, we'll disagree. The way I look at it, I don't know about it. All the past, it doesn't really matter to me. Okay, now I know the history of Israel, and I happen to know that this territory has been contested, and the whole Palestinian thing. Where let's look at this argument. Okay, I actually like to talk about this because the Palestinian argument is that Israel has stolen their homes, kicked them out of their lands, and Israel's argument is that they were reclaiming their land, and Palestinian says, well, all those people that lived there weren't you. It was maybe your ancestors who lived there before, and you're trying to reclaim this land, but you know what? You don't have this house anymore. That was never your house. It may have been your ancestors' house, but it was never your house. Okay, so in turn, now enough time has been passed now to where most of the people that were kicked out, the Palestinians that were kicked out of Israel, very, very likely that they aren't alive anymore. Most of them. A very, very vast majority of these people are probably people who never lived in this land, okay? So if they're talking about freeing their homeland, it's not really theirs anymore. It was their ancestors. It's literally the same exact argument that Israel is using. So in turn, they're actually the same, okay? I'm not really going to get involved in the Israel-Palestinian conflict. I don't really care. All right. As far as I'm concerned, Israel is our strategic ally, though. So if somebody is threatening our ally, we defend them. All right. Now, we may not need to be an ally with Israel. We may not need to even jump in and help them. So for example, let's say, it's just like any other ally. So let's just say me and you, all right, me and you guys out there in listener land, all right. Just imagine we're hanging out, all right, and you start a fight. We're friends. You start a fight. I'm not gonna jump in and save you if you started the fight and you were in the wrong. Maybe you deserve that butt whooping. All right. I don't have to get involved. This is what our founders warned us about. Beware of foreign entanglements, because I'm not a fan of joining up foreign wars just to help our allies that we have that we really didn't need to get involved in. Number one, if our allies started the situation, they need to take care of it itself. We're not going to help them out if they're in the wrong. At least I don't think we should. That's my opinion. And in addition to that, if they don't need our help, Israel's a big boy. They can put their pants on. They wear big boy pants. So we don't need to help them in a lot of cases. Now, concerning Iran, this is the conversation for me here that I have difficulty with. All right, Iran does have the potential to completely wipe out Israel if they obtain nuclear weapons. And this is the conversation somebody called me an Israel worshiper. All right, I think that Iran also has the potential to do damage to us. If they get the ability to make nuclear weapons, they can easily smuggle it into the United States. And many of their politicians have stated on record that their wish is to destroy America and Israel. We don't want Israel, our ally, to die. All right? Israel is saying that they want peace. Now, others would disagree, and again, I'm not going to have that conversation right now. It's a big, long conversation, and we're already 36 minutes into the overdrive, so I think it's probably not necessary. But concerning these foreign entanglements, okay, if I'm walking with my friend, and my friend is my ally in this scenario, and they get beat up, and they're getting beat up, and they weren't in the wrong, of course I'm going to help them. They're my friend. They're my ally. So just the same situation here. When we're looking at Iran and Israel's saying that they want peace. Israel's been willing to make concessions, and one thing that is for sure is that Iran is not willing to say that the total annihilation of Israel is off the table. They're not willing to remove that. So we don't need to, as I've said before, we don't need to negotiate with people who are unwilling to at least say that the annihilation of our ally is at least off the table during these negotiations. But anyway, I digress. I know we're kind of going down a rabbit hole. The whole point of this flag reaction video here is to really illustrate the apathy that people have towards ISIS and then conversely show how much people hate Israel. This is an issue that I think that is kind of interesting. It's interesting to talk about, but there is so much hate of Israel, and a lot of people think that that they are an evil governmental organization, an evil entity, and that very well may be the truth. I don't know. My entire point is that I think that we need to worry about ourselves, not necessarily be isolationists, but not get involved in other people's drama, other people's stuff, unless it affects us. All right, unless we have a direct reason, a national interest to be involved in the conflict, especially if our allies can take care of their own situation, they can take care of their own business. The Iran situation dealing with nuclear weapons is unique because that could potentially lead to them not being able to handle it, Israel not being able to handle it. In addition, it could also pose a threat to us. So that's why I'm talking about that. Anywho. We had a long show today, and I think that's where we're going to wrap it up. I could talk about a few other things, but I think we've had enough. Anyway, I just want to say thanks for all of you out there for sticking with me week after week. You guys are amazing, members of the Mac Pack. We're going to be gone for next week, so don't be surprised when we're not here on the 3rd of May. We're going to be en route to our new location, so just stick with us, and by the 10th of May, the following Sunday, we will be back, so I hope you guys tune in. And I really do appreciate you guys, so thank you so much. Thanks for Steve for calling in. Though I disagree with some of the points that you made, and we had our disagreements, I really appreciate you getting involved and having that conversation. I think it was a good convo, and I had fun. I had a lot of fun today. So thanks, everybody. And also, I want to thank our guest, Mary Emmerich, with the Oath Keepers, for giving us a call and giving us an update on what's going down there in Josephine County. And any of you out there that want to get involved, you can go to oathkeepersjoco.com to get more information, to donate, all that good stuff. If you want to participate and volunteer, you can get down there as well. Also, don't forget to check us out on our website, OnTheMoveShow.com. We broadcast week after week, every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can also like us on Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. Follow us on Twitter.com/OnTheMoveShow. Subscribe to our YouTube account, YouTube.com/OnTheMoveShow. And I think that's it. I'm pretty sure. I don't think I have any other links here. I'm scrolling down right now to see if because I got a list of them here. Facebook, YouTube. Oh, yeah, follow us on Spreaker. Spreaker.com/OnTheMoveShow. And again, I really appreciate you guys for tuning in. I know this is a long show, so I think this might actually be the longest show that we've done. I'm not sure. But anyway, take care, you guys. You have a wonderful evening, and I'll check you out in about 2 weeks. I hope everyone has a safe time and travels safe life. And as always, know your rights, assert your rights, and get on the move.